Tough emission regulations mean that small city cars with internal combustion engines are becoming increasingly expensive. Meanwhile, their electric counterparts are becoming more affordable and less troublesome. At least that's the theory. But what's it really like? Let's meet Zoe. Renault Zoe is an electric supermini based on the Clio platform. It debuted in 2012 and featured modern design on the outside and some Clio switchgear on the inside. All this added up to a feeling of freshness, but at the same time it was a safe, familiar choice. Many people say they'd love a truly modern interior, but are then put off by anything that feels unfamiliar. Over the years, the Renault Zoe and the Nissan Leaf topped the European EV sales rankings. Only in 2019, Tesla Model 3 stole their crown. Perhaps yet another facelift will help the Zoe get back on top. Early 2020 was promising for the French EV. I'll admit, I was never a fan of the Zoe. I didn't mind the battery size. These were early stages of electromobility, so 22 kilowatt hours and a real-life range of 100-150 kilometers, depending on the weather, were normal. And so was officially claiming that the car could do more than 200 kilometers on a single charge. Later, we got the 41 kilowatt-hour version, which almost doubled the claimed and real-life range. My problem with the older Zoes is the way they were finished. Shutting the door sounded like banging two empty tins together. And it was the same thing during driving, when you could hear every pothole, every pebble. Also, the old Clio switchgear got old pretty fast. But okay, this is what the Clio interior looked back in the day, and Renault had no other parts to use. Today the Zoe no longer sounds like an empty tin. It's not ideal, but compared to the pre-facelift model, this sounds like a W123 Merc. And since I'm in the back, check out the space. Nothing changed in this sphere since 2012, so I'm beginning to understand why clients liked the Zoe. The only problem is the high floor, because the batteries live underneath it, and on longer journeys having no thigh support could be tiresome. New are the two USB ports, and now the backrest splits 60/40 on all but the lowest trim models, where you fold the whole seat like in the older Zoe. There is no armrest, no cup holders, and the door pockets are small. The boot has 338 liters volume, and you can see how Renault-Nissan Alliance designers shared their worst practices. On higher trim levels, you get this Bose sound system with a subwoofer the shape of a concrete curb thrown in the boot. It's about 60 centimeters long and 20 centimeters wide. I don't care if it takes up the whole width of the boot, but they could have attached it along the edge rather than where it is currently located. Also, here you get an emergency kit and a tire repair kit and 2 bags with charging cables. Order a double floor, hide all the mess underneath it, and let's call it 300 liters, shall we? Besides some cosmetic changes on the outside, a lot has changed inside. The cockpit now features elements from the new Clio and the new Captur. There's a large cubby for your bits and bobs. There's a wireless charger down here. The drive selector is from the new Captur, but there is no park button. So you can either use auto hold brake or just shut the car off when you stop. There are a couple of USB ports, a 12-volt socket, physical AC knobs, and several buttons for some basic car functions. Everything else is on the touchscreen, which some untrained monkey tried to clean with aggressive chemicals, and the anti-glare layer is now damaged. I wish there was an armrest. I'm not even going to rant about the multimedia joystick again, which I only saw during reviewing the footage. I love the upholstery. Yes, it has seen better days, but at first glance it looks simple, elegant and modern. Or perhaps it looks a bit worn because it's made from recycled materials.
Renault Zoe now has 52 kilowatt-hour batteries and offers a theoretical range up to 395 kilometers, which is less than the claimed range in the 41 kilowatt-hour version. That's because in the old car the range was calculated according to NEDC and now it's WLTP, so it should be more realistic.
Divide 50 kilowatt-hours by 395 kilometers and you get about 12.6 kilowatt-hours per 100 kilometers. For reference, Porsche Taycan Turbo batteries are almost twice as big, it uses twice as much energy, and it has similar range, so everything checks out. Also, the real-life range checks out. Drive this thing normally and you should get about 350 kilometers, drive it on the motorway and you're down to 300, tops.
Zoe comes in two variants, the R110 and R135. The former has 108 and the latter 135 horsepower. The less powerful version needs 11.4 seconds to reach 100 kilometers per hour from standstill, and it has a top speed of 135 kilometers per hour. This is the R135, which reaches 100 in 9.5 seconds, and its top speed is 140 kilometers per hour.
In the Renault Zoe, you can turn regenerative braking on or off. Recuperation is the B mode on the drive selector. Regen braking won't work when the battery charge is high, but lose a bit of juice and recuperation sets in. It's not as powerful as in the BMW i3 or the Mini Cooper SE, where 90% of the time you don't even need to use the brake. In Eco mode, Zoe's regen is a bit more aggressive, but you'll still have to use the brake about 50% of the time.
Zoe is very easy to drive. It's like any other supermini. The driving position is high, visibility is good, the turning radius is just over 5 meters. For reference, the Smart 4 has about 3.5 meters turning radius. There is a reversing camera, but I noticed as you start the car and begin reversing out of a parking spot, sometimes the system loads one of these legal responsibility warnings and the camera view is covered by a prompt to accept the terms and conditions.
Since this is an electric car, there is no escaping from the kilowatts and AC/DC charging talk. Renault's claimed range is up to 395 kilometers, which is a bit optimistic. That's assuming you drive around town in eco mode with recuperation turned on. That being said, I drove this car for a week and I plugged it in at home only once for the night, just to be on the safe side before a day of filming. For your information, on my filming day, I usually drive about 100 kilometers.
After more than 200 kilometers, I had around 100 kilometers range left. Out of the 200 kilometers, at least a quarter was on ring road, which is not Zoe's natural habitat. How long to charge? From an ordinary 240 volt home socket, charging to full may take about 24 hours. I get 2.1 kilowatts at home. Get a wall box and you can cut this time down to about 9 hours. However, as standard, Zoe can take up to 22 kilowatts from a public charging station via its Type 2 connector, which means charging to full will take about 3 hours.
Fast charging the Zoe is possible, but only if you pay €1,090 extra for the CCS socket. Then you can charge up to 50 kilowatts, which means full charge in about an hour. Unfortunately, this press car is a so-called pre-production model, which in car maker speak means we've assembled it a bit early and quickly for the press to drive, but don't be mad if something doesn't work or falls off. And in this pre-production model, and a couple of other press fleet Zoes in Poland, CCS doesn't work. Renault is investigating the issue. Prices of the Renault Zoe start at €22,000 for a 40 kilowatt-hour model with battery lease option, or €30,000 if you want to buy the car with the battery. The battery lease ranges between €74 and €124 a month depending on your planned mileage. This test car is the top trim for €36,000 with batteries, or €28,000 if you lease them. Options on this car include a winter pack, parking assistant, EasyLink infotainment with Bose sound system, and the DC charging socket which doesn't work. All this adds up to €38,940.
Renault Zoe is a practical super mini with a decent boot size, rear doors and a place for a couple of adults in the back. It also has a decent range, but for that kind of money you can get a funky Mini Cooper SE, which may not be as practical, but it's got style. And what would you choose? Better range and practicality or cool lifestyle? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, subscribe and join me every Friday, or just click one of the links on the screen right now. Also, I started a new channel about the gear I use for filming my shoestring budget car reviews. It's called Marek's Gear. It's also linked somewhere around here, so feel free to check it out and maybe also subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.